Well, I want to send a message to Rosie also as a as a member of the other party. Senator Mikulski, chairman of this committee, has been extremely tolerant of our diversion from what the purpose of this appropriations hearing was. This is the Appropriations Committee. Our purpose is to determine what kind of resources, financial resources, our agencies need to address critical issues facing our country. And we've diverted, thanks to the tolerance of the chair, to a critical question, but one that, as General Alexander said, is scheduled to be and will be thoroughly discussed with every member of Congress and with the public to the extent that that's possible. General, I appreciate your answer to Senator Udall's question, the last question. You're walking a very difficult tightrope here, because there are demands that you release previously classified information to not just members of Congress, but to the general public. And if you don't do that, this frenzy of mischaracterization of these programs will continue in the public, and so you're caught between a rock and a hard place. I regret that. I've been urging my colleagues that before they draw a conclusion and go public with that conclusion, they learn about the program. Because the more you learn about the program, the more you realize the enormous effort that has been made to respect the privacy and civil liberties of Americans, and the hurdles you have to go through to get the most minimalist of information. I think as the public learns more about what is happening here, you know, we say all the phone records all the time, and the public interprets that as meaning everything that has been said over a phone is stored somewhere, and you can go in and retrieve it, or there can be abuse of that. You've tried to clarify that a number of different times in terms of what you collect and what you don't collect, and how you have to go through a legal process in order to even begin to ascertain information that is necessary for you to come to some conclusion about whether or not this country is about to be attacked by terrorists. And so I just, well, let me ask you this question. Given the fact that this issue has swept across the country, and we're in a position where we have to disclose more about it in order to calm the public misperception of what it is, are there consequences? Do we have to look at both sides of this question? One, being transparent, addressing civil liberties, but two, the importance of keeping some missions and some activities in a classified manner so that those that are intending to do us harm don't learn about this and therefore make adjustments to bypass the very methods that we have to potentially prevent a serious attack against the United States. I'd like you to address that question, particularly in relationship to what you said about 911 and what perhaps we had had these programs in place at the time, we could have prevented that, and a little bit more about the consequences of our simply, as some have suggested, open this up for the whole world. And the whole world means a lot of people sitting in places where they're trying to determine how they can best attack the United States.
Senator, thank you for the question, because that is my concern. Great harm has already been done by opening this up, and the consequence, I believe, is our security is jeopardized. There is no doubt in my mind that we will lose capabilities as a result of this, and that not only the United States, but those allies that we have helped will no longer be as safe as they were 2 weeks ago. So I am really concerned about that. I'm also concerned that as we go forward, we now know that some of this has been released. So what does it make sense to explain to the American people so they have confidence that their government is doing the right thing, because I believe we are, and we have to show them that. And you said it right. We have great people working under extremely difficult conditions to ensure the security of this nation and protect our civil liberties and privacy. They do a great job. Actually, I would like the American people to know that, because they would be tremendously proud of the men and women of NSA who have done this for us for the last decade. It is a great story. The issue is that we then have to debate is how much do we give out and what does that do to our future security? That's where the real debate is going to take place, because that's the issue that is now before us. There is water, broken glass, and everything else on the floor. We now can look at that, but what we're going to have to do as a nation going forward is saying, what can we do? And that's where Congress, I believe, has to stand up on behalf of the American people. Some of these are still going to be classified and should be, because if we tell the terrorists every way that we're going to track them, they will get through, and Americans will die. That's wrong. And our allies, we've got to come up with a way of doing this. And you know, I thought the great part about this program was that we brought Congress, the administration, and the courts all together. We did that. That's what our government stands for, under the same Constitution. We follow that Constitution. We swear an oath to it. So I am concerned, and I think we have to balance that. I will not. I would rather take a public meeting and people think I'm hiding something than to jeopardize the security of this country. Now, having said that, some of this is out there, and it is right that we have that debate. And so what makes sense to put out there so that people will know that what we're doing is right, we ought to do that. And I think that that part will be good for the country. And there's other parts that I think you need to weigh in and say, but don't do that. And that's where you, the administration, and potentially the courts ought to come together and say, so now what do we do?
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that statement, and I think it should be made in the record and published across the nation.
Senator Vaindra.
Thank you so much.